Morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's March 24th, 5:25 a.m. Central Time. Grain markets are a little bit lower this morning. May corn futures down 1.5 at 462 3/4. May soybeans down 1.25 at 1008.5. May Chicago wheat down 5 at 553 1/4. May Kansas City wheat down 5 3/4 at 583. May spring wheat is down 2.5 at 602.5. Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins was on the TV talking a couple days ago. Let's start there.
So, in an interview with Fox News, Rollins acknowledged that tariffs remain a key concern for farmers and ranchers. She stated that the U.S. farm economy is struggling after 4 years under the Biden administration. Despite concerns over tariffs and market volatility, she emphasized that farmers and ranchers recognize that short-term uncertainty is necessary to achieve long-term prosperity. Rollins also reaffirmed the administration's commitment to supporting agricultural producers and expressed confidence that by the end of its term, the industry will be both profitable and thriving.
People are going to give a shit first off for using a Fox News clip. I don't watch cable news, guys. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch MSNBC. When the ag secretary's talking, I don't think it matters where she's talking. Same with the president. When he's talking, I don't know that it matters where. So disregard that. Look at the top of this X post. Big announcement coming soon. And then there's an airplane emoji and a globe emoji. So the optimist in me says that that's a nod perhaps to sustainable aviation fuel, and that maybe that's the big announcement that's coming soon. Maybe the more realist in me says that she's going to get on an airplane and go try to talk to somebody about buying U.S. soybeans. I don't know. In any case, we're going to play you guys the video clip from the interview because I think it's interesting. Here we go.
Our rural communities, our farmers elected him at almost an 85 or 90% rate. They understood that there may be a little bit of short-term uncertainty for the long-term prosperity and the good for the country. As I have traveled around the country, I've been on the job 30 days. I've been in 8 states. I've talked to hundreds of farmers one-on-one. The tariffs always come up as the first concern. The farm economy is under a lot of stress right now after 4 years of Joe Biden, but they understand. And the final thing I'll say on this is when I was sworn in about a month and a few days ago, the very first call I had was with President Trump. And he said to me, he said, Brooke, tell the farmers I've got their back. Make sure they understand that when we leave in 4 years, that our farmers will be experiencing a prosperous economy, a golden age, unlike they have experienced in our lifetimes.
So how do we get to this prosperous golden age farm economy? There's a couple different ways you could do it, I guess. I think the sustainable aviation fuel thing would be one way to do it, and do it quickly if they put some sort of law into place. I mean, we're so far behind. We haven't seen the guidance. A trade deal with China, again, make China buy soybeans and corn out of the United States to fix our markets. That would be another way to do it. The last go around, if you guys don't recall, we had a trade war, and then we had MFP, which was, direct payments to farmers to offset the cost of the trade war. I think that that's a very possible or even likely outcome at this point. If we go another year or two and soybeans are still at $10 and cost of production still at 11 or 12, you could see MFP again. So I don't know. She says they're going to make it right, I guess. I don't. There's a lot of I get a lot of this is political and a lot of it's messaging, but if they're really going to make this right and make the farm economy great, I mean, really only a couple different ways you can do it outside of maybe a weather type event that they can't really influence. So if you guys have any predictions on what the big announcement is, drop them in the YouTube comments. I don't really know.
President Trump suggested there may be some flexibility in his upcoming reciprocal tariffs. Markets briefly rallied following the statement on Friday before retreating into negative territory. The administration plans to implement broad reciprocal tariffs on all U.S. trading partners on April 2nd, a date Trump has dubbed Liberation Day in America. Trump also indicated that negotiations with China remain possible and expressed his hope to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Meanwhile, economists are increasingly concerned about the risk of stagflation due to tariffs, policy uncertainty, and stricter immigration policies. The S&P 500 recorded its fifth consecutive week of losses last week, while forecasters continue to lower their outlook for U.S. and global GDP.
There was some chatter yesterday. There was a meeting in Beijing. U.S. Republican Senator Steve Daines met with the Chinese premier in Beijing, along with a group of executives from U.S. companies on Sunday. This was the first trip that an American politician has made to China since Trump took office in January. Beijing is seeking high-level dialogue with the Trump administration, hoping to reach a deal to avert further pressure on tariffs from Washington. China did slap a 10% tariff on U.S. soybean imports a couple weeks ago, yet we haven't seen any cancellations of old crop soybean purchases from China. As a matter of fact, they were still the largest buyer of old crop U.S. soybeans last week. So maybe that's to come, maybe not. I guess this is all kind of a fluid situation.
The funds reduced their net long position in the corn market last week. CFTC released weekly commitment of traders data on Friday. During the week ending Tuesday, March 18th, large money managers were net sellers of 28,000 corn contracts. Since mid-February, the funds have slashed their net long position by 255,000 contracts. The funds were also net sellers of 10,000 soybean contracts and 2,000 contracts of SRW wheat on the week.
They're pretty agnostic positions across the board. No super strong opinions here. I don't think among large money managers as a collective whole. So you had your big swing in the corn market. They went from record net short in July of last year to not a record net long, but close enough just a couple months ago. And now you're back to a net long of 104,000, which is pretty darn modest. So I don't know. I guess they wait on acres and weather now. We'll find out.
If you guys have not checked out our premium content, you sure need to do so. Joe, can you tell our viewers about some of last week's premium videos?
We did 20 questions with Matt Bennett last week. We talked about free DP, what the implications of that are. Should you do free DP? Acreage prospects, a lot of grain marketing questions. This was about 40 minutes of uncut grain marketing discussion with Matt Bennett. Excellent stuff. Paul was on, I believe, Thursday. We talked about MFP, which I alluded to earlier. What happened during the last trade war? And is this something that's possible again here the next couple of years? I think a lot of people are starting to think that maybe it is a possibility. Jim Urio was on Friday translating Fed speak. Jerome Powell was on yesterday, and Jim is a professional interest rate trader, has been for decades, and he helped us to translate exactly what the Fed is trying to say with its recent decisions. If you guys want to see the premium stuff, go to standardgrain.com. You can sign up this morning. This is a $50 per month subscription. It's an information-only service. We send you 2 emails per day. The Standard Grain Morning Update goes out every single business day at 5 a.m. Central Time. It's jam-packed full of info. All of our videos are included. There are 6 most recent ones. All of my cash grain marketing recommendations, charts, graphics, everything you need to know for that day. Our midday premium video blast goes out at 10 a.m. Central Time. All of this stuff is a piece of cake to do on your phone. I know you guys are getting busy. There's field work going on. It's not going to be too long before guys are planting corn and soybeans. But you can sign up in your, well, don't do it while you're driving. But if you're in the truck, you know, you're stopped, you can sign up. And it'll take you about 30 seconds to do on your phone. Give that deal a shot this morning, guys.
USDA's Mexico Attaché Office has lowered its forecast for the country's corn imports. Mexican corn imports for the 25-26 season are estimated at 24.8 million metric tons, a 3% decline from the previous season. The decline is driven by higher domestic production and larger carryover stocks following last year's record high imports. Despite the reduction, imports are still expected to be the second highest on record. Rising demand for yellow corn, especially for poultry feed, is increasing the need for imports. Mexico's corn production is forecast to rise by 3% from the prior season, reaching 24.5 million metric tons.
I'm going to skip ahead a couple of slides. So they're calling it a reduction. I guess the office in Mexico is working with a different number than WASDE, because that number that they put out, the 24.8, that would be a record high based on the WASDE numbers. So Mexico's corn imports have increased drastically the last couple of years. They've had crop problems. They've had some better domestic demand. Ending stocks to use ratio, it's pretty tight at 9%. They're going to need to continue to buy corn. If you look at ending stocks, they don't really keep a ton on hand. You're talking 4 million metric tons. So I think this is overall good news that the Mexican corn import program is expected to stay accelerated and elevated versus previous marketing years. It's going to be almost all U.S. corn. So it's good news.
A Georgia jury has ordered Bayer to pay billions of dollars in damages related to its Roundup weed killer. The German company has been ordered to pay roughly $2.1 billion to a plaintiff who alleged that the weed killer caused cancer. Bayer has disputed the ruling, maintaining that the product is safe and plans to appeal it. In recent cases, the company has managed to reduce such damages by 90% from the original jury ruling. Bayer aims to resolve the majority of Roundup litigation by 2026, having already spent $10 billion of the $16 billion allocated for settlements. Since acquiring Monsanto for $63 billion back in 2018, Bayer's stock has plunged over 70% as investors steer clear amid ongoing legal troubles.
This has got to be one of the larger, if not the largest settlement that they've had. But as of March, as of this month, Bayer is contending with over 177,000 lawsuits. They just get sued left and right over this stuff. And Bayer has allocated $16 billion for settlements related to these claims. This stuff, of course, is used all over the Corn Belt and is going to continue to be used all over the Corn Belt in all likelihood. I know that people have strong opinions on Roundup one way or the other, but that's what's going on.
We had a cattle on feed report come out on Friday. Cattle on feed as of March 1st were reported at 11.6 million head, 2% lower compared to last year and steady with pre-report estimates. February placements were reported at 82% of last year's levels. That fell more than 3% short of expectations. The steep decline in placements highlights the lack of cattle domestically and also the limited flow of Mexican feeder cattle imports. Marketings in February were reported at 91% compared to last year, which was about 1% short of expectations. The market will likely view this report as bullish when the markets open here today, as placements came in much lighter than last year and also lighter than anticipated.
Friday's close and the cattle was kind of ominous, I guess you might say. We posted fresh highs in this June live cattle contract and then finished the day lower. One day does not make a trend, but we'll see who wins out. Does the technical, call it a reversal on Friday, win out, or does the friendly fundamental report from the government win out today? We'll find out here in a couple hours. Outside markets this morning, the Dow's up 330, the S&P's up 64 points. Bonds are down a little bit. U.S. dollars a little bit lower. Crude oil is up 40 cents, and the June WTI at 68.29. Have a great day, guys. We'll be back on Tuesday.